That wouldn't have mattered so very much, but the trouble was that she laughed at everything, often on the most unsuitable occasions, and this was extremely vexing. The king and the queen were very troubled about it.
This is very annoying. I know.
And I lost my spot. They called in an old, wise fairy. And she told them if the princess could only once be made to cry,
If the princess could only be made once to cry,
the spell would be broken forever,
the spell would be broken forever,
and she would be just like other people.
and she would just be like us.
Her parents offered a reward of 500 crowns to anybody who could succeed in making their daughter cry without doing her any harm. A wise woman from the kingdom came, and she had an idea. She said, shut her up in a room
Shut her up in a room
and feed her only bread and water for a whole week.
and feed her only bread and water for a whole week.
The queen thought, this is very cruel.
This is very cruel.
But the king persuaded her to try it.
Let's try it.
The queen insisted, however, that she be given bread and milk.
Let's give her bread and milk. Okay.
So the king and queen left for a whole week. The princess stayed with the old woman. And after a week, the king and queen came back. And what they found was the princess laughing. And she was as cheerful as ever. Look, she said,
Look,
my feet have grown so thin,
my feet have grown so thin.
I can't keep my slippers
I
on.
can't keep my slippers on.
And she kicked her foot in the air and sent her slippers flying across the room. And she just laughed, but the queen burst into tears. My poor starved lamb.
My poor starved lamb.
They shall not treat you like this any longer.
They shall not treat you like this any longer.
And she rushed over to the kitchen and got an order of soup and chicken and jelly and gave it to the princess. Now the wise woman had to come up with another idea. And she said, you know, for 6 months, I've been practicing the most awful faces and most terrible noises imaginable. This should make the princess cry. So the king and queen took the tray back. They left. See if the old woman can make the princess cry. Well, after a while, the king and queen came back. The king and queen came back. And when they opened the door, they just found the princess laughing. The princess said, oh, she's such a funny woman.
She's such a funny woman.
Can she come and do it again?
Can she come and do it again?
Well, the wise old woman had to come up with another idea, and this time she decided to smash all the toys in the nursery. The king and queen left. She opened up the toy box and she started throwing all of her toys down and smashing them and breaking them. But the princess thought it was funny and she joined in. The king and queen came back. And the princess said, what fun, what fun.
What fun, what fun.
So they had to give up the plan. Okay, you guys go off. Victoria, come and help me. This is second scene. All right, here's. Now, in a small village on the borders of the King's Great Park, there lived a widow with her daughter Marigold. They were very poor, and the mother earned what she could by doing odd jobs of washing, sewing, and cleaning. But she fell ill, and poor Marigold was in great trouble, for she had no money to buy comforts for her mother. The little savings they had went for food to keep them alive. Marigold knew about the princess of the castle. She had heard of her, and she had seen her sometimes riding about on her white pony. One day when Marigold, I'm sorry, keep writing. One day when Marigold was cooking dinner, she came up with an idea. As soon as dinner was over, she put on her hat and coat, and she told her mother that she was going to the king's palace to see if she could make the princess cry and earn 500 crowns. Her mother tried to persuade her not to go. Her mother said, "How can you hope to succeed?"
How can you hope to succeed?
When so many clever people have tried and failed.
When so many clever people have tried and failed.
You are my dear little Marigold.
You are my dear little Marigold.
But it is useless for you to attempt such a task.
But it is useless for you to attempt such a task.
Give it up, my child.
Give it up, my child.
But Marigold was determined. And when mother saw how determined she was, she let her go. Marigold grabbed her basket and went off to the castle. When Marigold came to the castle gate, she felt frightened. The gates were so big and she was so small, but she thought of her mother and the 500 what the 500 crowns would buy. And she she went on her tiptoes and rang the doorbell. The king and queen came to the door and said, "What is it, my child?"
What is it, my child?
"I have come to make the princess cry."
I have come to make the princess cry.
Well, the king and queen felt, well, better give it a shot. So they took Marigold to see the princess. And they left them alone in the room. And then they went and listened at the door. And everything seemed okay, so they decided to come in and see what was going on. Come on, queen. See what's going on. They opened the door, and you know what they saw? The princess standing at the table in the middle of the room with Marigold basket, and they were peeling onions. And tears were streaming down the princess's face. She was crying at last. The king and queen were so excited. So the princess was cured, and from that time on, she was like everybody else and cried when she was unhappy and laughed when she was glad, and I'm pleased to say that she always laughed a great deal more than she cried. And Marigold got the 500 crowns and was able to give her mother everything she needed, and she became well. The king and queen were most grateful and invited her up to the palace to play with their little girl and loaded her with presents.